Head, a short story written and narrated by Tom G.H. Adams. Additional sounds and effects from www.purpleplanet.com. Life is an experiment, from start to finish. If you don't believe it, then think for a minute. A time ago, some would say maybe 2 billion years, but hey, in God's reckoning, that's only a piss in the ocean. Life began. The Creator's great hypothesis: I create beasts, plants and man, and I see that it is good. Only someone threw a spanner into the gear wheels. The Hebrew story says it was nexus. Anyway, he was the fucker who got the blame. Personally, I think it was planned obsolescence. Disease, cancer, genetic deformity. You've got to admit it's some cosmic fuck-up, however you look at it. So who can blame a guy for trying to remedy the situation? The ministry. That's who. "Are you ready?" says the red jacket who's come to collect me. I stare at his polished boots, then his breeches, ironed to form creases that stand to attention, and finally his spotless jacket emblazoned with the ministry's motif. Establishment guy. Aren't they all? Conform or be cast out. Him and me, we're opposite sides of a dividing line, looking at each other through reverse telescopes. He has a protocol to follow and continues. "Voluntary, number 657483. You have chosen not to exercise your right to a last request." Voluntary, a propagandist term coined to emphasize I have consciously chosen to rebel against the established order and face the consequences. "You don't want a last meal or an alcoholic beverage?" "That's what I said at the prelim, yeah," I say. "Are you sure about that?" I think for a moment. "Actually, I've changed my mind." "You have?" "I'd like to sing a song when I'm up on the scaffold." He looks at me skeptically. "Which one?" 1,999,000 green bottles standing on the wall, I say. I can't help grinning as I look up at him. He clicks his tongue, lifts a paper on his clipboard. "Nice try. There's been no last-minute reprieve. You'll not be surprised to hear." "Wouldn't want it any other way," I say. He steps out of the cell and calls 2 more redcoats. "Escort the voluntary to the yard." They come in, check my leg and wrist shackles, then guide me through the door. All by the book. I've never been one for rule books. Not for my own selfish gain, you understand. You can't advance as a civilization without cutting a few corners. And I cut plenty. Genetic manipulation, designer babies, Frankenstein foods. These aren't terms thought up by scientists. They're media headlines. Shrieking shit semantics created to instill fear in the populace and sell a bit more copy. To me and my kind, these techniques are the tools of progress. It's just a shame the ethics committees had to snarl things up for years. Agents of the conservative thinking establishment is what they are. Pawns for the clergy and right-wing interest groups. You'd expect this attitude if it was the Victorian era, but this is 2045 for Christ's sake. So I got to thinking, what if I throw away the rule book? What if I really push the technology to the limit and show the world what can be accomplished? Eradication of 99% of cancers, cystic fibrosis and haemophilia eliminated, diabetes reversed with gene therapy. Surely, when they saw these achievements, my decisions would be vindicated. The judge didn't seem to think so. Okay, so my experiments on embryos produced freakish results. If I'd been able to keep things under wraps 1 more year, I could have shown them how the benefits outweigh the costs. Again, the judge didn't seem to think so. I've got to hand it to my lawyer. He put up a good fight. I got 2 stays of execution, but in the end, the Luddites were always going to win. An example had to be made. It's too easy for anyone with a degree in genetics or biochemistry to set up a lab in their room and let Pandora out of the box. Who'd have thought playing God could be so easy? My mistake was carrying out research in a country that reinstituted the death penalty. I shuffle, almost tripping along the corridor. Damn circulation takes a while to get going. They unlock a series of 3 doors on the way. And I smell a cocktail of sweat, disinfectant, and human misery. Each cell I pass houses a potential deterrent to those wishing to subvert the machinations of the ministry. We approach the outer door. The baying of the crowd like hyenas pumps through the 2-inch steel. The red jacket's electronic key sends tumblers falling into place, and the door slides open with a heavy rumble. I feel the coolness of the autumn breeze on my face for the first time in 180 days, and know that my experiment nears its conclusion. There's fear, of course, a dread that rides darkly in the pit of my stomach, but there's also fascination, an intense curiosity corkscrewing like a worm through my mind. As I'm led up the scaffold steps, the noise from the crowd crescendos. There'll be millions across the nation, cheering and ululating in front of their LCD screens. Some will be watching in 3D. Live camera feed will give their thrill-hungry consumers their meat, and the media company their ratings and revenue. The executioner's name is Dan. I met him yesterday at the prelim. He explained what would happen very professionally and assured me he took no pleasure in his duty. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. He told me his son was training up for the role. Chip off the old block. Speaking of blocks, the one where Dan places my head, gently but firmly, is overlaid with a PVC sheet. Sanicized state murder. It'll all be over with soon, he says, and locks the upper beam into place, clamping my arms and head. My mouth is dry as I stare face down at the bucket in front of me. The elder finishes his speech with the words, "And hereby announce that justice has been done. May the Lord have mercy on your soul." A hush falls on the crowd. I'd like to think it's respect, but I know they just want to hear the sound of the guillotine slicing through the gristle and bone of my neck. I've seen it 100 times before over the feed. Now I'll get to experience it at the business end. The experiment reaches its conclusion. There's no pain when the blade falls, just a brutal jolt. I see the sky flip over once, and then I'm looking at the black plastic that must be the bucket's side. So it's true. Consciousness continues after severance. My vision clouds over. I no longer see anything, not even a circle of light ahead. But I can sense the pressure of the boards under my body. I experience the loss of fluid from my neck. There's one for the theorists. Awareness exists beyond the cranium. I am not my head. Not entirely. If you're absorbing this, then I trust you've recovered the biosensory nanochips implanted in my body. The procedures for downloading the data files are in the transcript I left in my will. I hope they yield insights which generate further